Well, are the dolls in your dollhouse planning some kind of big event this summer or spring? Today I show you how to make a chocolate fountain. They can sit on the buffet table or the party table and enjoy with some fresh fruit or cake chunks. So stay tuned and see how easy this project is. Alright, I did the painting on these pieces earlier. This is what the chocolate will drain into on our fountain, and it's just a bottle cap off of a water bottle. I spray painted it with some silver. I think the exact color is aluminum colored spray paint, and that's that part. This is where the motor housing would be for the for our fountain, and you can use anything. I painted the same color, and it's just one of these little wooden bowls. So our first step is obviously going to be assembling these two pieces. And that's going to be pretty easy. We are going to use some fast grab tacky. Quite a gob of it there. And kind of run our rim. It's easier if you put the glue there. Kind of get the glue onto the rim of your bowl, and we are going to do our best to center that, and then that glue will need to dry before we can continue with that. Now we have one other little bit of prep work, and that is to get some push pins ready. To get our push pins ready, you're going to need a couple of tools. So I'm going to move this off the side. I have some push pins here. Not sure. I'm actually making this thing up as I go, so I'm not sure how many push pins I'm going to need. But I'm going to show you how to pull the metal part out of the push pin here. You'll need a candle. Now be very careful. If you're obviously, you know, safety rules with candles. Nothing flammable nearby. Parental supervision. If you've got long hair, have it pulled back. Sometimes you can just pop the metal out, but not very often. Now, we're holding on to the push pin with a pair of narrow-nosed pliers. I've got another pair of needle-nosed jewelry pliers in my hand. I'm going to stick the metal pokey part of the push pin into the flame of the candle, and it's going to start to move. Now, use pliers for this, because that's going to be hot, and that's all there is to it. Sometimes you will find that the push pin is actually a wire pin that goes into the handle, and sometimes, like this batch I got last time, they're just glued on the end. We'll figure out how many of those we're going to need in a little bit. So this all needs to cool off, the glue needs to dry, and then I'll be back. So this is all dried. So now we are going to make two of our layers. And I think I mentioned before when I was taping that I'm making this project up as I go. So I really don't, from one step to another, it's going to be interesting. So I figured out what I'm going to use for two of the three layers. And that is, I've got our push pins that we took our tips off of. And I'm going to glue some wooden buttons on. And these buttons are, looks like they're about 5/8 of an inch buttons. So I'm going to use the saturated, the trick with the cotton ball saturated with glue. And I've got some glue over here on the side of my tray. A piece of cotton, and I'm also, because I want this to stick, I'm putting a drop of super glue and a drop of super glue. Now, Now I know I've talked about the cotton glue thing before. I do this without gluing my fingers to it permanently. And they can be kind of messy inside because this is not going to show. This is simply for height and for... okay, come on. I think I'll dry them this direction. Now, let's do that again. Another piece of cotton. Now I'm completely covered with glue and I forgot to get a wet wipe out. There, let's get this. That cotton in the glue. Come on. Come on. Get some super glue on both surfaces. Hopefully I'm getting this in the camera. And now, glue, come on, off my finger and on there. That one's not right. Okay, that's, this one I'm going to have to redo a bit. Okay, more glue. That one I got the cotton too much of a blob there. Cotton needs to be thinner. Okay. There. Now it's saturated. Okay. More super glue. Okay, usually when I do these videos I have already figured out what I'm going to do before I start, but this one I know what I want to do and I know how I want it to look, but I haven't figured out ahead of time, step by step, what I'm doing. There. Okay, now that I'm glued. Alright, those will need to dry, but there we have our pieces. Get those dried, and when they're dry I'll come back, we'll assemble this, and I'll show you how we're going to make the chocolate flow down over the fountain. Alright, so the glue is dry on that step, so now I'm going to put another pool of tacky glue out, and we are going to make what our chocolate will be clinging to. And for that we're just using plastic wrap, you know, from the kitchen, like you wrap up your leftovers with. So what I'm going to do, and this is cut way bigger than I need, because we are going to trim it for the next step. And this part's not going to show. Alright, so we're going to cover that, and we're going to stick this on here. And now this needs to dry. And we're going to do this one. And then I've got another. I'm try and get this part kind of smooth. Now I have just a push pin with the sharp part removed, not glued to anything else. And I'm going to glue the fat end, which is the part we took off the piece from. I'm going to glue that to a piece of plastic. So now this glue needs to dry, and then we can go on to assembling this. So let me get this glue dry. I ended up deciding to use some clamps and kind of clamp the plastic down there, because I want it to, in fact I think it's already got a memory for there. Now I think we are going to put some super glue out and try to remember not to stick our fingers in it. I'm going to dip this, I kind of roll the edge of this in super glue, because I need this plastic to, there. Yeah, that'll be better. And then do the same thing. I don't know if you guys see what I'm doing there or not. I'm just rolling the pool of super glue there on the tile, and I'm just getting it on the edge, and I don't think it's in front of either camera. So I've got just the rim of super glue there. Try not to touch it. And then we'll do that again. Because I got to thinking, I got to looking at pictures of chocolate fountains online, and the chocolate kind of comes in at the bottom of each layer. That's kind of what I'm trying to get here. Okay, same thing here, except I'm using my locking tweezers. Okay, come on. There. Now we'll let that glue dry, and then we'll come back and do the next. See if our glue is dry enough to work with here. So it should stay down the way I want it to now. Yeah. Pretty well. Okay. So we are going to start by gluing the first layer into our base. Again, we are using our cotton, saturating the cotton, and again I forgot to get the wet wipe out, so I'm going to be full of glue. Put a pool of that there, put some more there. Now take this cotton towards the camera. Trying to do this without gluing it to my fingers and still have it where it's in camera. And then, now I think the biggest trick here is going to be making sure that this is standing straight up and down so it doesn't tip. Let's see if I can reach a wet wipe without knocking the camera down. I am. Okay. There we go. Alright. Now, so that's pretty straight. So, my cotton is not cooperating. I need more glue. And I need part of this cotton. Again, and we repeat this process again. Oops, I forgot to trim our next layer. So we're followed, that layer followed by this layer. Now, and hopefully I'm getting this all centered and where I want it, because once this is glued together, there's no going back. We can trim off if we've got like little wispy things sticking out. That will be okay. And I think that this one will work for either 1/12 scale or 1/6 scale actually, because it could be like a small, I know some of my friends have chocolate fountains that they dig out when they entertain, but also sometimes you go to like an event, like a wedding or something, and they've got a big chocolate fountain. So I think for a dollhouse size, this is probably a big one, but for Barbie, it would probably be, you know, a smaller one. So I think this will work for either scale. I was afraid to try and make it any smaller because I was afraid we wouldn't be able to see what I was doing. It's going to be hard enough in this size. But this is what I've been wanting to figure out for a while. I've been wanting to figure out, how do I make a chocolate fountain? I make water fountains quite often, but I've never done the chocolate one before this. And it's so weird to be doing this without having done it ahead of time. I always have done the stuff I show you ahead, you know, so I know what I'm doing. This is the first time I've ever done a video where I'm figuring out what I'm doing as I go. Okay, so we put the little glue saturated cotton right there, right on top of the super glue, and we do that. Now, this glue needs to dry. And it will need to be all the way dry because we are going to coat it with our fake chocolate. So I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to pick the glue off my fingers, and I'll be back when it's all dried and ready to go. Alright, so let's start putting some chocolate on this fountain. It's sat overnight. It's as dry as it's going to get. I do have a bit of cotton down there. If you've got loose, like I've got a little loose plastic there, yeah, that'll be okay. Alright, we are going to start, I think, I've been debating and changing my mind all night. Do I just start at the top or the bottom? I think I'm going to start at the top. So this is Scribble's 3D paint in hot chocolate. This makes the best chocolate. I'm just going to reach over here to my trash and yeah, make sure there's no air in it. Okay. Now we are going to start. And we are just going to, and we're only going to do a little bit at a time. Obviously we can't do the whole thing because it takes a while for this to dry. But this is why we have the plastic wrap, is so that the chocolate has a place to flow, a place to be, and a structure under it. I think I'm going to do the whole top layer, and then I'm going to let this dry. Probably under my work light for layers. And I'm trying to make this as smooth as I can. You're going to want it smooth because chocolate fountains are running, so the chocolate would be pretty smooth. So you might have to come back and put another coat on to even things out if you get holes. But there, that's our first layer, and I'm going to let that dry under my lights, and then I will come back and we'll do the next layer. Alright, so the top is dry. It's a little tippy. We should have been a little more careful about getting this straight up and down, but I'll get some more chocolate now. It's just a process of repeating this, bringing the chocolate down the plastic and trying to make it smooth. Now if you go back to the videos from last summer, you could make some strawberries. I showed you last summer how to make strawberries in our produce series. You can make some nice strawberries and put in a bowl around, next to this. It would be really cool. And take some of the same paint, same 3D paint, and coat a few strawberries with it too. That would look really nice. Now the plastic is loose right there, so I'm going to use the chocolate paint to help adhere it to the plastic next to it. We just keep doing that. Now this layer needs to dry, and then I'll come back and do some more. Alright, so I think we are ready to put another coat on. Now we can do, come on, this, come on paint, there we go. Now how deep you want your paint in the bottom is up to you. Oops, I've got a hole. I think what we'll do, oops, see if I can do this without shaking. I said before, I don't shake unless the camera's on, and then my hands start to shake. You would think, after doing this for what, almost 3 years, the camera would not make me shake anymore. I think it's just the idea of the camera being on. Now if you want to do white chocolate, you could definitely get a Scribbles paint in a well, some kind of a cream color. White chocolate isn't white, so you probably want to find, I'm not sure what color you would use. You would have to go look and see what colors they've got, but you could do that. But there we go, that just has to dry now. I really recommend that you get yours a little straighter than I got mine. I got mine a little bit crooked, but I'm happy with it. I think that'll look really nice on a buffet table for some celebration the dolls are doing. Oops, I got a slip out there that's a little thin. Let's see if I can do this without messing up. I've got a little plastic showing right there. And you can kind of use a toothpick and smooth this out if you want to have it perfectly smooth. But there we go. We have a chocolate fountain for the next big party the dolls in the dollhouse or even Barbie is throwing. So I hope you enjoyed this project. Be sure and check the blog. I'm sure there'll be some little tidbits on the blog that are not on the video that I'll talk about. If you haven't found us on Facebook, be sure to look for us there if you're a Facebook person, because that's where I announce any changes or anything that's coming up. And I usually give you a little teaser about the video. So enjoy your minis, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.